Welcome to Maine's waterfront. I spent the day on the Damariscotta River with Muscongas Bay Aquaculture. And let me tell you, this is one of the coolest aquaculture operations I've ever seen. So are you ready to dive in? Let's start all the way at the beginning, with the broodstock. These special oysters were chosen to seed hundreds of millions of New England's oysters, both for farms and for restoration projects. Baby oysters, or larvae, start out free swimming. These little guys are about a month old. They're raised in this land-based hatchery by the river that holds over 200 million baby oysters. Oysters are stationary once they stop swimming, and they filter feed, so they need nutrient-rich, flowing waters to grow. And algae is the growing oyster's food of choice. To feed their hundreds of millions of oysters, this hatchery also functions as an indoor algae farm. Different species of algae are grown to support growing oysters' changing nutritional requirements as they age. Algae-rich water like this is pumped throughout the hatchery. That's why this water looks green. Now, once juveniles reach a few millimeters, they're brought out to sea in these rafted nurseries. This semi-submerged box is pumped with seawater to keep the oysters feeding continuously. Check it out, this one box alone holds almost 500,000 baby oysters. After a few weeks of growing in the nursery, oysters are ready for the open waters. This farm specifically uses two grow-out techniques, surface culture in floating cages and bottom culture. We'll start with the surface culture. Oysters get sized on a shaker and placed in these cylindrical cages. They're stapled to the shore where tides lift and rotate them continuously. The benefit with caged aquaculture is that it reduces mortalities. Up to 90% of these oysters will make it to harvest. Plus, the farmers can monitor their crops really easily. Now out to bottom aquaculture. Instead of a semi-closed system like cages, oysters can be farmed right on the muddy seabed. The benefit here is that seabed oysters grow thicker, but bottom culture also leaves oysters open to the environment and predation, so mortality is much higher than with cages. This small dredge boat pulls mature oysters off the seafloor. Then, they're brought to this floating processing dock to be cleaned and sized. With bottom culture, you'll get oysters of all shapes and sizes, as well as some other native sea life. The crew sizes oysters from petites all the way to these monsters, which yes, they say are just as delicious as the smaller oysters. Cleaned and culled, these oysters are left to purge for a week. This lets them clear out sand and grit so that they're ready to eat right when they're shucked. Now, you might notice the river is completely full of jellyfish, and I asked about this, and they're saying that the river is having a bloom right now, which the farmers say is a great sign for their oysters since jellies only bloom when the water is warm and full of nutrients. Now, this farm alone harvests almost year-round and provides millions of oysters to the East Coast. It's an unbelievable operation, and I had such an amazing day on the water with the farmers. I can't thank the Maine Aquaculture Association enough for setting up this visit.